Well, good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and tonight we'll be discussing 5 more 1950s sci-fi aliens. This is the third entry in the series, but as usual, they can be watched in any order. And also as usual, tonight's presentation will be brought to you in stunning black and white. Color broadcast not available in this area. And number 5 on the list is Mr. Johnson from Not of This Earth from 1957. And Not of This Earth tells the story of Paul Johnson, one of the snazziest dressed aliens since Ming the Merciless. This heroic and tragic figure has come to Earth in order to save his dying race, who is suffering from a blood disorder, a side effect of war. And all he needs is a whole bunch of human blood for experimentation, testing it on himself. He also happens to have psychic abilities and weird eyes that go all zappy. What? That's a term. Science. Now, I normally wouldn't cover such a human-looking alien, but he does have the weird eyes, and I'm starting to run low on 50s aliens. He does, though, have a very cool-looking minion, the Lampshade of Cthulhu. And Mr. Johnson was played by Paul Birch. Birch was a film, TV, and stage actor with a great sci-fi resume with appearances in War of the Worlds, Day the World Ended, Queen of Outer Space, and The Beast with a Million Eyes. Birch is really good in the role. He definitely comes across as an alien weirdo, much like your host. But apparently he hated wearing the contact lenses and was made to leave them in for hours at a time. Supposedly, and I stress supposedly, he got into a shoving match with director Roger Corman over this and walked off set. A double would shoot Birch's remaining scenes. Not much else to say about Mr. Johnson, but the lampshade, or umbrella if you prefer, of Cthulhu was created by the great Paul Blaisdell. Blaisdell found the project quite appealing, not having to design a big monster prop or wear a full-bodied costume. And it was made of latex, foam rubber, wire coat hangers, and cut-up rubber lizards. It's also worth noting that Mr. Blaisdell also built the alien tech in the film. And number 4 on the list is the giant hairy humanoid creature from Space Invasion of Lapland, aka Terror in the Midnight Sun, aka Invasion of the Animal People from 1959. And I know the Animal People version of the film lends itself to some strong reactions. Folks feel about Jerry Warren like the angry randos feel about the way I properly pronounce Bela Lugosi. But we're here just to talk the alien creature, not Jerry Warren. And Terror in the Midnight Sun tells the story of a supposed meteorite crash in the Arctic mountains of Sweden. Turns out, said meteorite is actually a spaceship containing extraterrestrial life in the form of 3 humanoid aliens. But these aliens are not alone. They have with them a large, hairy, tusked monster that begins terrorizing the area. And this is a great-looking, almost Sasquatchian creature with a nice set of tusks. He reminds me a bit of something from the first season of Lost in Space. I bet he and the Cyclops would get on just fine. And it's unique that he's an alien creature, looking more like something that would have come from the distant past or a forgotten land. And he was played by Lars Ulrich. This appears to be Ulrich's only film, for he was a journalist, not an actor. The only other information I could find about him was that he stood at about 7 feet tall and also played one of the humanoid aliens and a soldier in the nightclub scene. The effects of the film are credited to an Odert von Schultz, pronunciation unknown, and this is their only effects credit that I could find. But in order to make the creature look huge, forced perspective and reduced scale models were used. Quite effectively, I must add. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot of information about the creature floating about, but the background on the film itself is pretty interesting, as I touched on in the opening. But long story short, Jerry Warren got a hold of it and changed quite a bit, even adding newly shot footage to the mix, similar to what Roger Corman did twice with the Russian film Planet of Storms, forming both Voyage to the Prehistoric Planet and Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women. And number 3 on the list is The Martians from Invaders from Mars from 1953. And Invaders from Mars, which is said to be one of the most realistic portrayals of alien life ever put on film, yet not realistic in its portrayal of actual Martians, tells the story of some well-meaning aliens who come to Earth in order to stop the uppity humans from completing an atomic rocket that could threaten their very existence. But wouldn't you know, a nosy little busybody kid sticks his nose into the alien business and proceeds to terrorize the innocent Martians for the rest of the picture, all but ruining their lofty goals. And in charge of the Martians is the Martian Intelligence, a very cool looking squid-like creature that looks like something you would have found hanging on Lovecraft's Christmas tree. And that's 2 Lovecraft jokes in one episode. You're really getting your money's worth this weekend. And the Martian intelligence, though male in the film, was played by actress Luce Potter. Potter also appeared in The Greatest Show on Earth and The Incredible Shrinking Man. It's often said that she was one of the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz. I ran across that tidbit several times in my research, but I could not confirm this. And next we have the synthetic mutants under the control of the intelligence. These green-clad Martian minions are nearly as memorable as their leader, and several actors are credited as mutants, including Pete Dunne, who played the monster in The Monster of Piedras Blancas, Ed Wolf, who played several great costume roles, including the Fly in Return of the Fly, the Robot in The Phantom Creeps, and the Colossus in The Colossus of New York, and Locke Martin, who played Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still. As to who actually did the Martian effects and design, that's a wee bit unclear, but Howard Lydecker is credited for miniature and mechanical effects, and Lydecker, along with his brother Theodore, were an effects team with some great credits to their name, including Commando Cody and Lost in Space. Invaders from Mars would go on to receive a comic book adaptation by Eternity Comics in 1990, and then a 3-issue sequel series in 1991. And on that, we should take a break.
Hi, come on and meet my pal, Clark Kent, the star of Superman.
As a reporter, I like to keep up on all the exciting news being made these days. And for really big news, well, Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes is certainly all of that. You'll find Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes just about everywhere. Listen.
If we're going to camp out, we'll need some food. Don't worry, I've got all we need. It had better be something good. It is, don't worry. Well, come on, what is it? There, Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes. I got a couple of more boxes in the kitchen. I eat Sugar Frosted Flakes for breakfast. Sure are good, aren't they?
Everywhere I go, I find kids and grown-ups eating Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes for breakfast and for snacks all day long. You'll really go for Frosted Flakes, too. Tony, tell everyone how Frosted Flakes taste.
Great! New Flakes, Frosted Flakes, Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes.
And we're back with number 2 on the list, and that's The Invisible Creature from Phantom from Space from 1953. And Phantom from Space is another film in the Aliens getting a raw deal school of filmmaking, much like 20 Million Miles to Earth a few years later. And it tells the story of an alien visitor who crash lands in the alien capital of California, the San Fernando Valley. Said alien visitor also just happens to be radioactive and invisible without his snazzy spacesuit. He soon runs afoul of more vicious humans and learns Earth isn't the friendliest of places. And yeah, I know, I'm really sending some mixed messages here with the siding with the alien gag. But this is a great looking, simple alien design with some really neat invisible effects. This is one of my favorite space helmet designs. It looks like something right out of a Republic cereal. You also get to see the visible version of the alien in the film, but I won't spoil that here. Let's just say he would have fit in nicely on an episode of The Outer Limits, or a Frankie Avalon film. And this charming fellow was played by bodybuilder Dick Sands. Sands had a rather small resume, and this was his only sci-fi film. He did, though, play a gladiator in the 1954 film Demetrius and the Gladiators with Michael Rennie. So that counts for something, right? The effects for Phantom from Space were by Alex Weldon. Weldon was a special effects artist who also worked on Star Trek The Motion Picture, Orca the Killer Whale, and Invasion of the Saucermen. This was one of many films I first discovered thanks to Zacherley's horrible horror VHS tape back in the 80s. Heck, the bulk of my early sci-fi knowledge comes directly from that tape. But I thought that floating helmet scene was so cool as a lad. And now it's time for an honorable mention, and that's Teenagers from Outer Space from 1959. I didn't really want to cover another human-looking alien, but I figured I would at least mention the teens from space because there are very few things as horrible as a teenager. And you're probably asking yourself, why didn't you just cover the giant lobster creature from the film? I kind of want to save that one for another Giant Creatures episode, or just something about giants in general. And number 1 on the list, The Aliens from It Came from Outer Space from 1953. Interesting how many 1953 films appeared on this list. It's usually 1957. Based on a film treatment by Ray Bradbury, It Came from Outer Space tells the story of a group of shape-shifting aliens that crash land on Earth in a really groovy-looking spaceship. They then proceed to take the shapes of local residents and I'm actually going to leave it there. This is a really unique movie with a bit of mystery to it, and I don't want to spoil the plot for anyone that hasn't seen it. And too often when folks talk about the film, they immediately spoil it. But these are some great looking one-eyed aliens with a completely non-humanoid form. They're just so wonderfully pulp magazine in design. And according to the great Bob Burns, the alien shown up close actually had 2 long-reaching arms. But because of the filming method, these are only seen in the 3D version of the film. Don't ask me why though, that's way too smart for this channel. Another really unique aspect to the film is that the audience actually sees from the alien's point of view at times. And though unnamed in the film, both the script and promotional materials refer to the aliens as xenomorphs. Originally, the aliens were never going to be shown, but the studio wasn't having that, especially with the film being shot in 3D, so the xenomorphs were then added. The aliens were designed by the Universal Makeup Department, which included Millicent Patrick, the lady behind the creature from the Black Lagoon. 2 different creature concepts were then submitted to Universal. The one that was chosen became the xenomorphs. The rejected concept would go on to become the Metaluna mutant from this island Earth. Not alien related, but if anyone has ever wondered where I got the music for my Atomic Transmissions intro, it's from this very film. And finally, It Came from Outer Space would go on to receive a sequel in the form of a television series. One of the aliens would go on the run after the events of the film. He would pose as a scientist and book passage on a charter boat. Then, using his psychic abilities, he would cause the tiny ship to shipwreck on a deserted island. From there, he would continue using his strange powers to keep himself, as well as Maynard G. Krebs, stranded on said island, safe from angry villagers. And that's all the time we have for this weekend. So, Jeremy, what was that nice thing you were saying about me the other day?
This guy is 6 kinds of a freak.
I don't think that's what it was. Well, either way, please like, comment, subscribe, watch the skies, and stay atomic.